The blood wouldn't stop. I pressed the dish towel harder against my palm, watching the white cotton bloom red like some kind of morbid flower. The kitchen knife had slipped while I was chopping onions for dinner, and now I was standing in my tiny apartment kitchen, alone, dizzy, and seriously regretting my decision to cook something ambitious on a Tuesday night. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and my own ragged breathing. My new roommate, Dr. Kieran Cross, wasn't home yet. He never was before midnight. I'd only moved in 2 weeks ago, desperate for cheap rent near the hospital where I worked as a medical transcriptionist. The ad had been almost too good to be true. Female roommate wanted. Private bedroom, shared bath. $600 per month. Quiet professional preferred. Must be comfortable with their regular hours. I should have asked more questions. Because Dr. Kieran Cross was not a normal roommate. He was a trauma surgeon at Mercy General, one of the best in the city, according to the nurses who whispered about him in the break room. He was also impossibly tall, dangerously handsome, and so cold he made our apartment feel like a walk-in freezer, even in the middle of summer. He barely spoke. He never smiled. And he looked at me like I was some kind of fragile, breakable thing that might shatter if he got too close. I'd been trying to respect his space, his silence, his obvious need for distance. But right now, standing in our shared kitchen bleeding all over his pristine tile floor, I was starting to panic. The bleeding wasn't stopping. I fumbled for my phone with my good hand, blood smearing across the screen. I should call 911. Or an Uber to the ER. Or literally anyone who wasn't my terrifyingly intense roommate who probably didn't want to deal with. The front door slammed open. Heavy footsteps. Fast. Too fast. Sloan. His voice was a low, rough command that made every hair on my body stand at attention. I looked up. Dr. Kieran Cross stood in the doorway between the hall and the kitchen, still wearing his dark surgical scrubs, his black hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. His gray eyes, sharp, cold, assessing, locked onto my hand, then the blood pooling on the floor, then my face. His expression didn't change, but something in the air shifted. "I'm fine," I said quickly, stupidly. "It's just a cut." I was going to. He crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and grabbed my wrist. Not gently, not roughly, just with absolute, unquestionable authority. "Sit down," he ordered, his voice still that low, dangerous rumble. "I can handle." "Sit down." "Sloan." I sat. He pulled the blood-soaked towel away from my hand, his jaw tightening as he examined the wound. His fingers were cold, steady, professional. But there was something else in his touch, something that made my skin prickle with awareness. "Deep," he muttered. "You severed a capillary. You're going to need stitches." "I'll go to the ER." "No." He was already reaching for the medical kit he kept in the cabinet above the sink. Of course he kept a medical kit. He was a trauma surgeon. "I'll do it here. You don't have to." His eyes snapped to mine, and the intensity in them made my breath catch. "I'm not letting you bleed out in my kitchen, Sloan." My kitchen. Not our kitchen. The possessiveness in his tone should have annoyed me. Instead, it sent a shiver down my spine. He worked in silence, cleaning the wound with swift, efficient movements. His touch was clinical, detached, but I couldn't help noticing the way his hands trembled slightly when he threaded the needle. "You're shaking," I said softly. His jaw clenched. "I'm fine. You've done this 1,000 times. Why are you?" "Because you're bleeding." The words came out harsh, almost angry. "And I can smell it." I froze. "Smell it?" He realized what he'd said. His eyes widened fractionally, and for the first time since I'd met him, Dr. Kieran Cross looked rattled. "I mean, I can see it," he corrected quickly, too quickly. Medical instinct. Ignore me. But I couldn't ignore him. Because in that moment, as he bent over my hand and began stitching the wound with meticulous precision, I saw something I'd never noticed before. His eyes weren't just gray. They were glowing. Faintly. Like distant lightning behind storm clouds. And when he breathed in, his nostrils flared slightly, like he was struggling to control something primal and dangerous. "Kieran," I whispered. "Don't talk," he said through gritted teeth. "Just don't move. Don't talk. Don't." His hand slipped. The needle pricked my skin, and a fresh drop of blood welled up. He made a sound low in his throat that was not human. It was a growl. And suddenly, I understood why he'd never let me get close. Why he kept such rigid distance. Why he was never home before midnight. My roommate, the brilliant, cold, untouchable Dr. Kieran Cross, wasn't just a trauma surgeon. He was a wolf. And I was bleeding in his territory. Chapter 1: The Rules. Listen. If this story is pulling you in, imagine the full version. My ebook The Night His Wolf Chose Me goes places this video can't. Darker, deeper, more intense. If you want the whole experience, the real mate bond, it's waiting for you. The link's right there in the description and the pinned comment. Go get it. You'll thank me later. He finished the stitches in complete silence. When he was done, he wrapped my hand in clean gauze, his movements almost aggressive in their precision. Then he stood abruptly, putting the length of the kitchen between us, his back to me. His shoulders were rigid. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. "You need to be more careful," he said, his voice strained. "Kieran, go to your room, Sloane." It wasn't a suggestion. It was an order. But I didn't move. "What are you?" I asked quietly. His spine went rigid. "You saw," he said after a long moment. Not a question. A statement. "Your eyes. They were glowing." He let out a short, bitter laugh. "Of course they were. And that sound you made." I said, "Go to your room, Sloane." His voice was harder now, edged with something that sounded like desperation. "Please." That last word, barely audible, made my chest tighten. "I'm not afraid of you," I said. He turned slowly, and the look on his face was pure anguish. "You should be." His eyes were fully glowing now, that eerie silver-gray light making him look otherworldly. Dangerous. Beautiful. "I've been trying," he continued, his voice rough. "For 2 weeks, I've been trying to keep my distance. To stay away from you. To make sure you never saw." He broke off, running a hand through his hair. "But you keep making it impossible." I cut my hand. I said, confusion mixing with a strange, inappropriate flutter of attraction. "That's not exactly." "You bled." His voice dropped to a growl. "In my territory. Your blood, Sloane. Do you have any idea what that does to me?" I swallowed hard. "No." He took a step toward me, then stopped himself, fists clenching. "I'm a wolf. An alpha. And you're human." "Mine." The word hung in the air between us like a detonation. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "I don't understand." "Neither do I," he said roughly. "But from the moment you walked into this apartment, I knew. Your scent, your presence, everything about you calls to the wolf in me. And I've been fighting it every single day because I won't put you in danger." "What kind of danger?" His laugh was bitter. "The kind where I lose control and hurt you. The kind where other wolves smell my claim on you and come looking. The kind where you become a target just by living under the same roof as me." "You've been protecting me," I realized. "I've been trying." He looked away. "But tonight when I came home and smelled your blood," I almost shifted right here in the kitchen. The weight of his confession settled over me. "How long?" I asked. "How long have you been a wolf?" "Since I was 18. Military experiment gone wrong." His voice was flat, clinical. "A group of us were exposed to something in a black site facility. We all thought we'd die. Most of us did. The ones who survived, we changed. And now you're a trauma surgeon. Ironic, isn't it?" His smile was sharp, humorless. "The monster who tears flesh trying to save lives." "You're not a monster, Kieran." His eyes snapped to mine, glowing bright. "You don't know what I am." "Then show me." The challenge hung between us. "No." He turned away again. "You need to leave, Sloane. Find another apartment. Tomorrow. I'll cover your rent, I'll help you move, but you can't stay here." Why? Because I'm not strong enough. The words exploded out of him. Because every night I lie in my bed and I can hear your heartbeat through the wall. I can smell your shampoo, your skin, everything that makes you you, and it takes everything I have not to come into your room, and... He stopped abruptly. And what? I whispered. He didn't answer.
But the heat in his eyes told me everything.
I'm not leaving, I said firmly. His head snapped toward me. Sloan. I signed a lease. I paid first and last month's rent. And frankly, this is the only place I can afford near the hospital. I stood up, my bandaged hand throbbing. So, if you want me gone, you're going to have to file an eviction, which will take at least 30 days. His jaw clenched. You're being stubborn. I'm being practical. I met his glowing gaze head-on. And maybe I don't want to leave. Something flickered in his expression. Hope.
Fear?
You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I took a step toward him, heart pounding. You've been protecting me this whole time. Even before tonight. I've felt it. The way you check the locks before you leave. The way you always position yourself between me and the door when we're in the same room. The way you tense up whenever I mention going out at night. He said nothing, but his breathing had quickened. So here's what's going to happen, I continued, surprised by my own boldness. I'm going to stay. You're going to stop trying to scare me away. And we're going to figure out how to make this work. There are rules, he said hoarsely.
Fine.
Tell me the rules. He stared at me for a long moment, clearly warring with himself. Finally, he spoke. Rule 1. You don't go out after dark without telling me where you're going. Okay. Rule 2. If I tell you to leave a room, you leave immediately. No questions. Agreed. Rule 3. His voice dropped lower. You never, ever let me see you bleed again. The possessive intensity in his tone made heat pool in my stomach. I'll try, I said softly. Not good enough. It'll have to be. I held up my bandaged hand. Unless you plan to wrap me in bubble wrap. His lips twitched. Almost a smile. Then his expression sobered. There's one more rule, Sloan. The most important one. What is it? He took a step closer, and suddenly the air between us felt charged, electric. You don't fall in love with me. My breath caught. Because if you do, he continued, his voice rough with emotion, I won't be able to let you go. Ever. Do you understand? The wolf in me will claim you completely. And once that happens, there's no going back. I should have been terrified. I should have run. Instead, I found myself saying, what if I don't want to go back? His eyes blazed silver. Sloan. The rest of his words were cut off by the sound of shattering glass. We both froze. The sound had come from my bedroom. Kieran's entire body went rigid, his head snapping toward the hallway. A low, dangerous growl rumbled in his chest. Get behind me, he ordered, his voice no longer human. What's
now?
I didn't argue. He moved toward the hallway with predatory grace, his body already changing. His shoulders broadened. His hands elongated, fingers curving into claws. And his eyes, they weren't just glowing anymore. They were burning. Stay here, he commanded, his voice a terrifying hybrid of human and animal. Don't move.
Don't make a sound.
Then he disappeared into the darkness of the hallway. I stood frozen in the kitchen, heart hammering, as I heard sounds I couldn't identify. Crashes.
Growls.
Something heavy hitting the floor. Then silence. Terrible, suffocating silence. Kieran? I called out, my voice shaking. No answer. Kieran, I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed a knife from the counter and crept toward the hallway. My bedroom door was hanging off its hinges. The window was shattered, letting in cold night air. And standing in the middle of the destruction, breathing hard, was Kieran. He'd shifted back to human form, but his eyes were still glowing. Blood dripped from a gash on his arm. It's gone, he said hoarsely. What was it? He turned to look at me, and the expression on his face was pure, primal fury. Another wolf. A rogue. His voice was shaking. He came for you, Sloane. He smelled you on me, and he came to take what's mine. Yours, I whispered. Mine, he repeated, his voice dropping to a possessive growl. I told you. I warned you. But you wouldn't listen. And now. He stopped abruptly, his eyes widening as he saw the knife in my hand. Put that down before you hurt yourself again. I set the knife on the floor. We stared at each other across the wreckage of my bedroom. He'll come back, Kieran said finally. They always do. Once a rogue catches the scent of an alpha's. He hesitated. Of an alpha's mate, they don't stop hunting. Mate?
My voice came out as a squeak.
He closed his eyes, a muscle ticking in his jaw. I didn't want you to find out like this. Find out what? When he opened his eyes again, they were filled with a mixture of resignation and fierce, undeniable possessiveness. That you're mine, Sloane. My mate. The wolf knew it the moment you walked through that door. And now, every other wolf in the city knows it too. Chapter 2, The Claim. I should have been terrified. I should have packed my bags and run as far and as fast as I could. Instead, I found myself asking, what does that mean? Mate? Kieran leaned against the door frame, looking exhausted. The glow had faded from his eyes, leaving them their normal stormy gray. But the intensity remained. It means exactly what you think it means, he said roughly. You're mine. In every way that matters to the wolf. My other half. He broke off, jaw clenching. There's no scientific explanation for it. It's instinct. Primal recognition. The moment I scented you, the wolf claimed you. But I didn't agree to. It doesn't work like that. He pushed off the door frame and took a step toward me. The wolf doesn't ask permission. It just knows. And once it knows, it protects. It possesses. It would kill anything that tried to take you from me. My heart was racing. Is that what just happened? That rogue.
Marco.
His name is Marco. Kieran's voice went hard. He's a rogue from the North Side Pack. I've been tracking him for weeks. He's been killing humans, leaving bodies in the industrial district. And tonight, he caught your scent.
How?
You work at the hospital.
So do I.
Our scents mix. Any wolf with half a brain could smell my claim on you. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. I've been trying to mask it, to keep you under the radar. But the cut, the blood, it made you impossible to ignore. So this is my fault.
No.
The word came out sharp, almost angry. This is my fault. I should never have let you move in. I should have turned you away the moment you walked through that door. But he stopped, his expression anguished. I couldn't. The wolf wouldn't let me. Silence stretched between us. What happens now? I asked quietly. He looked at me for a long moment, something raw and vulnerable flickering in his eyes. Now I protect you. With everything I have. His voice dropped lower. But that means you follow my rules, Sloane. All of them. Without question. Because if Marco comes back, and he will, I need to know you'll do exactly what I say. I'm not good at following orders. I know. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. But you're going to have to learn. Because your life depends on it. The weight of his words settled over me. Can't we just call the police? Report him. Kieran's laugh was bitter. And tell them what? That a werewolf broke into your bedroom? They'd lock me up for psychiatric evaluation and leave you defenseless. He shook his head.
No.
This is pack business. And the only way to end it is for me to challenge Marco and kill him. Kill him. I breathed. He's a rogue, Sloane. He's killed at least 7 humans that I know of. He's beyond saving. And he knows about you now, which means he'll keep coming until one of us is dead. His eyes glowed faintly. I won't let it be you. The fierce protectiveness in his voice made something twist in my chest. I don't want you to die for me, I said softly. I won't. His confidence was absolute. I'm an alpha. He's just a rogue who lost his pack and his mind. The fight won't even be close. Then why do you look so worried? He hesitated, then sighed. Because fights like this are public. Pack law requires witnesses. which means other wolves will come. And once they see you, he trailed off.
What?
Once they see you, they'll know you're unmated, unclaimed. But you said. I said the wolf claimed you, but I haven't. His gaze dropped to my throat, lingering there with an intensity that made my skin flush. There's a ritual, a bite, a bond. Without it, other alphas can challenge me for you. And if I die in a challenge, you become fair game.
My mouth went dry.
So, you need to bite me? Yes. The word came out rough, almost pained. But I can't. I won't. Because once I mark you, Sloane, that's it. You'll be bound to me for the rest of your life. You'll feel what I feel, need what I need, and I won't be able to let you go, even if you beg me to. That sounds like a prison, he finished bitterly. I know. I was going to say intense. His eyes snapped to mine, searching my face. You can't possibly want. I didn't say I wanted it. I interrupted. But I'm not as horrified as you seem to think I should be. Sloane. I'm also not stupid, Kieran. If this Marco is as dangerous as you say, and if not being marked puts me in more danger, then maybe.
No.
The word was absolute. I won't trap you like that. I won't take away your choice. What if I choose it? He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You don't know what you're saying. The bond, it changes everything. You'd feel my emotions, my instincts, the wolf's hunger, and you'd be tied to me permanently. No divorce, no separation. For life, Sloane. Do you understand? For life. I understand. No, you don't. He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a rough whisper. You don't understand what it's like to need someone so badly it hurts. To crave their touch, their scent, their presence like oxygen. That's what the bond does. In Mac. Yes, you dependent. Obsessed. And I won't do that to you. Even if it keeps me safe? Even then. The conviction in his voice made my chest ache. So, what's the plan? I asked, trying to sound practical even though my emotions were a chaotic mess. We just wait for Marco to attack again?
No.
I issue a challenge. Tomorrow night. Full moon. His jaw clenched. I'll fight him in front of the Pack Council. If I win, he's dead and you're safe. If I lose, you won't lose. If I lose, he continued firmly, you run. There's a safe house in Vermont. Address is in my desk drawer. You go there, and you don't look back. Kieran, promise me, Sloane. His hands gripped my shoulders, his touch burning through my shirt. Promise me that if I fall, you'll run and never stop running. The desperation in his eyes broke something inside me. I promise, I whispered. He held my gaze for a moment longer, then released me abruptly, stepping back like my touch had burned him. You should sleep, he said, his voice once again clinical and detached. I'll board up your window and stand guard tonight. Where will I sleep? My room is destroyed. Take my bed.
What? No.
I can't. It's not a request, Sloane. My room is the only one without a breached entry point. You'll be safer there. He was already turning away. And before you argue, yes, I'll be right outside the door. All night. So don't even think about trying to sneak out and do something reckless. I wasn't. Yes, you were. I can smell the adrenaline on you. The defiance. He glanced back, a hint of dark amusement in his eyes. You're thinking about going after Marco yourself, aren't you? How did he know that? The thought crossed my mind. I admitted. Don't. The amusement vanished, replaced by cold authority. If you try to leave this apartment before tomorrow night, I will physically stop you. And I won't be gentle about it. Understood. The dominance in his tone should have made me angry. Instead, it made heat pool low in my stomach. Understood. I managed. Good. He started toward the hallway, then paused. Sloane. Yeah. Thank you. For what? For not running. His voice was barely above a whisper. When you saw what I was, you should have run. But you didn't. So, thank you. Before I could respond, he disappeared into the darkness. I stood alone in my destroyed bedroom, heart racing, mind spinning. My roommate was a werewolf. A rogue was hunting me, and apparently, I was destined to be someone's mate. This was officially the weirdest Tuesday of my entire life. So here's where things get really interesting. Because what I didn't tell you, what Sloane doesn't know yet, is that Kieran isn't just any alpha. He's the alpha who walked away from his pack 5 years ago. The one who refused to take a mate chosen for him by the council. The one they've been hunting for years. And tomorrow night, when he steps into that challenge circle, he won't just be fighting Marco. He'll be facing the pack he betrayed. But we'll get to that in a minute. Drop a comment right now and tell me, should Sloane let Kieran mark her before the fight? Or should she wait and see if he survives? Because I'm about to tell you what happens next, and trust me, you're not ready. Chapter 3. The Alpha's Bed. Kieran's bedroom smelled like him.
Pine.
Antiseptic. And underneath it all, something wild and earthy that made my hindbrain sit up and pay attention. The room was sparse, almost military in its precision. A large bed with dark gray sheets. A single nightstand with a lamp and a medical journal. A desk covered in maps and documents I probably wasn't supposed to see. I sat on the edge of the bed, my bandaged hand throbbing. Through the door, I could hear Kieran moving around. The sound of a hammer. Wood splintering. He was boarding up my window, making the apartment secure. Making me secure. I should have been processing the fact that werewolves were real. That my brilliant, cold roommate was one of them. That a rogue wolf had broken into my bedroom and tried to. What? What had Marco wanted? The question made my skin crawl. A soft knock on the door made me jump. Come in, I called. Kieran entered carrying a glass of water and 2 white pills. Painkillers, he said, setting them on the nightstand. Your hand is going to hurt once the adrenaline wears off. Thank you. He nodded stiffly and turned to leave. Kieran, wait. He paused, his back to me. What did he want?
Marco.
When he broke in, what was he trying to do? Silence stretched between us. Finally, Kieran turned around. His expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes betrayed him. They were glowing again, just faintly. He was trying to mark you, he said quietly. To bite you before I could. If he'd succeeded, you'd be bound to him instead of me. And then, he trailed off. And then what? And then I'd have to kill you both. The casual way he said it made my blood run cold. You'd kill me? Pack law. His voice was flat, emotionless. If a mate bond forms with anyone other than an alpha's chosen mate, both parties are considered compromised. The bond drives rogues insane, makes them violent, possessive to the point of murder. The only way to stop it is to sever the bond permanently. By killing them. Yes. I stared at him, trying to process the horrifying reality of his world. But you said you claimed me. Doesn't that mean? I claimed you in my mind, in the wolf's instincts. But without the physical mark, the bond isn't complete. Other wolves can still challenge me for you, can still try to force their own bond. His jaw clenched. Marco knew that. That's why he came tonight. So, if he'd bitten me, you'd be his. Forever. And I'd have no choice but to end it. The anguish in his voice was devastating. That's why I need you to follow the rules, Sloane. That's why I can't let you out of my sight until Marco is dead. And after? What happens after the fight? He looked away. After, you're free to leave. Find a new apartment. Get away from all of this. What if I don't want to leave? His head snapped toward me, eyes blazing. Don't what? Don't say things like that. Don't make this harder than it already is. He took a step closer, fists clenched at his sides. I'm trying to do the right thing here, Sloane. I'm trying to protect you without trapping you. But if you keep looking at me like that, if you keep offering yourself. I'm not offering anything, I interrupted. I'm asking what you want. What I want. His laugh was harsh. I want to mark you right now. I want to bite down on that pretty throat and make you mine in every way that matters. I want to lock you in this room and never let you leave. I want, He stopped abruptly, breathing hard. But I won't, he continued, his voice hoarse. Because what I want doesn't matter. What matters is keeping you safe. And the safest thing for you is to stay as far away from me as possible. You're not making sense. You just said I have to stay close until Marco is dead. I know. He scrubbed a hand over his face. I know. And that's the problem. Because every second I spend near you, every breath of your scent, every sound of your heartbeat, it makes the wolf stronger, hungrier, and I don't know how much longer I can fight it. The raw honesty in his confession made my chest tight. What if you didn't have to fight it? His eyes widened. Sloane, I'm not saying you should mark me, but what if we stopped pretending there's nothing between us? What if we just admitted that this, whatever this is, it's real? It's the bond talking, he said desperately. The proximity, the danger. Your body is reacting to the alpha instincts, releasing hormones that make you think. Stop. I stood up, closing the distance between us. Stop trying to explain away what I'm feeling. I'm not some damsel having a biological reaction. I'm a grown woman who's attracted to you. Who's been attracted to you since I moved in. The wolf stuff is new, but the attraction? That was there from the beginning. He stared at me like I just announced I could fly. You're attracted to me? God, Kieran. You're brilliant and handsome, and you save lives for a living. Why is that so hard to believe? Because I'm a monster, he said flatly. Because I kill people. Because I'm dangerous and broken, and I kissed him. It wasn't planned. Wasn't thought through. I just reached up, grabbed the front of his shirt, and pressed my lips to his. For a moment he froze. Then he kissed me back. And the world caught fire. His hands came up to cup my face, gentle despite their strength. His lips moved against mine with a hunger that made my knees weak. And when his tongue swept into my mouth, I tasted something wild and addictive that made me want more. He broke away abruptly, breathing hard. We can't, he gasped. Sloane, we can't do this. If I lose control, then lose control. I could hurt you. You won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. I held his gaze, my heart pounding. I trust you, Kieran. Completely. Something in his expression cracked. You shouldn't, he whispered. You really shouldn't. But he didn't pull away. And when I kissed him again, he didn't stop me. This time, there was no hesitation. No holding back. He kissed me like a man drowning, like I was air, and he'd been suffocating for years. His hands slid down to my waist, pulling me flush against him. I could feel the heat of his body, the controlled strength in every line of him. Sloane, he groaned against my mouth. If we do this, if we go any further, I won't be able to stop. I don't want you to stop. The wolf can handle it. I pulled back just enough to look into his glowing eyes. You've been handling it for 2 weeks. You're stronger than you think. Not when it comes to you. His hands tightened on my waist. You have no idea how hard it's been. Hearing you through the walls. Smelling you on my clothes. Knowing you were right there, just a few feet away, and I couldn't. I silenced him with another kiss. This time, he didn't argue. He just surrendered. And that's when we heard it. A howl. Long and haunting. Coming from somewhere outside. Marco. He was back. And he'd brought friends. Kieran tore away from me instantly, his body going rigid. His eyes blazed silver, and I felt the temperature in the room drop. How many? I whispered. He tilted his head, listening to sounds I couldn't hear. 4. Maybe 5. What do we do? We don't do anything. You stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. He was already moving toward the door. If I'm not back in an hour, you'll be back. He paused, looking at me over his shoulder. The vulnerability in his eyes made my heart ache. If I'm not, he continued quietly, there's a phone number in the desk drawer. Call it. Tell them code Silver. They'll send someone to extract you. Kieran. Promise me, Sloane. I promise. He nodded once, then disappeared into the hallway. I heard the front door open and close. Then silence. I stood frozen in his bedroom, my lips still tingling from his kiss, my heart racing with fear and something else. Something primal and fierce that whispered, "Go after him. Protect your alpha." But I'd made a promise. So I locked the door, grabbed my phone, and sat on the bed to wait. 30 seconds later, I heard the first sounds of the fight. Snarls. Crashes. Something heavy slamming into the exterior wall of the building. I couldn't just sit here. I couldn't. I unlocked the door and crept into the hallway. Chapter 4. The Fight. The apartment was dark. Silent except for the sounds filtering in from outside. I moved toward the living room window, staying low, and peered through the blinds. What I saw made my blood freeze. The parking lot behind our building had transformed into a war zone. 5 massive wolves circled Kieran, who stood in the center in human form, his body tense and ready. His eyes glowed like beacons in the darkness. 4 of the wolves were gray and brown, their eyes reflecting yellow in the streetlight. Rogues. But the 5th wolf was different. Jet black. Easily twice the size of the others, with eyes that glowed red.
Marco.
You brought witnesses, Kieran's voice carried through the night, cold and controlled. How civilized. The black wolf snarled. Oh, don't give me that. We both know this was always going to be public. Kieran rolled his shoulders, the movement predatory. So, let's make it official. Kieran Cross, alpha of the disbanded Northside Pack, challenge you, Marco Vela, rogue and murderer, to a death match. The terms are simple. You die or I do, and the winner gets the girl. Gets the girl? My stomach clenched. The black wolf, Marco, threw his head back and howled. The other wolves echoed him, the sound raising every hair on my body. Then Marco shifted. It was horrifying and mesmerizing at once. Bones cracking, flesh rippling, fur receding. Within seconds, a tall, scarred man stood where the wolf had been. He was naked, covered in old wounds, and his eyes glowed the same malevolent red. The girl is already mine, Cross, Marco said, his voice a rasp. I tasted her fear tonight. Smelled her blood. She's sweeter than anything you've ever protected. Kieran's entire body went rigid. She's mine. Prove it. Show me your mark. Silence. Marco's smile was vicious. That's what I thought. You're too weak to claim her. Too human. You're not worthy of an alpha's title. And you're not worthy of life. Kieran shifted. The transformation was faster than Marco's had been. More controlled. One moment he was human, the next he was a massive silver-gray wolf, larger than any of the others, his eyes blazing with cold fury. The fight was instant and brutal. They collided in a tangle of teeth and claws, moving so fast I could barely track them. Blood sprayed across the pavement. Snarls echoed off the buildings. The other 4 wolves circled, watching, not helping. This was personal. Marco lunged for Kieran's throat. Kieran twisted aside, and his jaws closed on Marco's shoulder, tearing deep. Marco howled and kicked back, his claws raking down Kieran's side. They broke apart, circling each other. Both were bleeding. Both were furious. You can't win, Cross, Marco snarled. You're too soft. Too attached to your human life. You've forgotten what it means to be wolf.
Kieran didn't respond.
He just attacked. This time, he went for the legs. Fast, precise, vicious. Marco went down hard, and Kieran was on him instantly, jaws closing around his throat. One bite. That's all it would take. But Kieran hesitated. Just for a second. And Marco took advantage. He shifted mid-fight, his human hands finding a knife I hadn't seen him holding. Silver glinted in the streetlight. No. The scream tore from my throat before I could stop it. Both wolves' heads snapped toward the window. Toward me. Marco smiled. There she is. He threw the knife. Not at Kieran. At me. The window exploded inward. I threw myself backward, but not fast enough. The blade grazed my shoulder, burning like acid. Silver. He'd coated the knife in silver. The pain was excruciating. I screamed, clutching my shoulder as blood seeped between my fingers. And outside, Kieran lost his mind. The sound he made wasn't a howl. It was a roar. Pure, unbridled rage. He hit Marco so hard the other wolf went flying across the parking lot. Then Kieran was on him, no longer fighting strategically. Just destroying, ripping, tearing. Marco didn't stand a chance. Within seconds, it was over. Marco lay still, his throat torn out, his eyes empty.
Dead.
The four witness wolves bowed their heads in acknowledgement. Then they turned and ran. Kieran shifted back to human form, naked and covered in blood, and staggered toward the building.
Toward me.
I tried to stand, but the silver burn was spreading, making my vision blur. The door burst open. Kieran rushed in, his eyes wild, and fell to his knees beside me.
Sloane.
Sloane, look at me. I tried to focus on his face, but everything was spinning. Silver. I managed. Silver. I know, sweetheart, I've got you. His hands were shaking as he examined the wound. It's not deep. The knife just grazed you. But silver is poison to anyone connected to a wolf, and you've been living with me, breathing my scent, eating food I've touched. You're close enough to the pack bond that it's affecting you. Am I going to die?
No.
The word was absolute. I won't let you. He bit his own wrist, tearing the skin, and pressed it to my lips. Drink. What? My blood will neutralize the poison. It's the only way. Trust me, Sloane. Please. I didn't hesitate. I drank. His blood tasted like metal and lightning, and something wild. The moment it hit my tongue, the burning in my shoulder began to fade. But something else started. A warmth spreading through my chest, my arms, my entire body. And suddenly I could feel him, his fear, his desperation, his overwhelming need to protect me. The bond. It was forming. Kieran, I gasped, pulling away from his wrist. What's happening? His eyes were wide, glowing, terrified.
No. No, no, no.
I didn't mean I was just trying to save you. I wasn't trying to force the bond. Sloane, I swear I wasn't. I know. I reached up and cupped his face with my good hand. I know. And I don't care.
You don't understand.
It's too late now. The bond is forming. You drank my blood. And he closed his eyes, anguish written across his face. I can feel you. Your fear.
Your pain.
It's already started. Then finish it. His eyes snapped open.
What?
Mark me. I tilted my head, exposing my throat. Make it official. Because I'm not going anywhere, Kieran. And if this bond is happening whether we want it or not, I'd rather do it on our terms. Sloane. Do you want me? More than I want to breathe. Then claim me.
Right now.
Before I lose my nerve. He stared at me for a long, agonizing moment. Then he leaned down and pressed his forehead to mine. If I do this, he whispered, there's no going back. You'll be mine. Forever. Do you understand? Forever. I understand. You'll feel everything I feel. Need what I need. The wolf will recognize you as its mate, and it won't be gentle about protecting you. I can handle it. Can you? His voice was raw. Can you handle belonging to someone completely? No privacy. No separation. Just us. Bound together for the rest of our lives. I met his glowing gaze steadily. Yes. Something in his expression broke. And then he kissed me. Not gently. Not carefully. Like a man who'd been starving and finally found food. His lips moved down my jaw. My neck. Finding the spot where my pulse hammered wildly. Last chance. He breathed against my skin. Say no, and I'll stop. I'll find another way to break the bond before it completes. Don't you dare stop. He bit down. The pain was sharp and immediate. But underneath, it was something else. A rush of pleasure, so intense it made me gasp. I felt the bond snap into place like a physical thing. a golden thread connecting my chest to his. And suddenly, I could feel everything. His love, his fear, his desperate, overwhelming need to keep me safe, his absolute certainty that I was his and he was mine, forever. When he finally pulled back, his lips were stained with my blood. His eyes glowed, so bright they were almost white. Mine, he growled, the word barely human. Yours, I agreed breathlessly. He kissed me again, softer this time. Reverent. When we finally broke apart, I realized the pain in my shoulder was completely gone. I touched the spot where the knife had cut me. The skin was smooth, healed. How? The bond, Kieran explained, his voice still rough. You're connected to me now. My healing is your healing. My strength is your strength. He paused. My enemies are your enemies. Is that supposed to scare me? Yes. Well, it doesn't. I looked at the mark on my throat, his mark, in the reflection of the darkened window. It looked like a perfect crescent moon. What happens now?
Now.
He stood, pulling me up with him. Now we clean up the mess Marco made. Report his death to the Pack Council. And then, a slow, devastating smile crossed his face. And then I take my mate to bed and show her exactly what forever means. Heat flooded through me. Kieran. But first, he interrupted, his tone becoming clinical again. We need to get you checked out. Make sure the silver didn't cause any internal damage. And I need to file a formal challenge report with the council, which means we'll have visitors within the hour. Visitors? Other wolves. Enforcers. They'll need to verify the kill and witness the mate bond. His jaw tightened. They're going to ask you questions, Sloane.
About how the bond formed.
About whether you consented. I did consent. I know. But they won't take your word for it. They'll test you. Push you. Try to make sure I didn't force the bond through coercion or violence. What kind of test? He hesitated. They'll try to separate us. See if you panic. See if the bond causes you pain or distress when we're apart. Will it? Yes. The word was heavy. The bond is new.
Raw.
Being separated from me right now will feel like part of your soul is missing. It will hurt, but you'll survive it. And if you can endure the separation without breaking, they'll accept the bond as legitimate. I swallowed hard. How long will they keep us apart? An hour. Maybe 2. And if I break? His expression went dark. Then they'll assume I forced the bond. And they'll execute me for it. My blood went cold. What? Force bonds are illegal, Sloane. Punishable by death. If you can't prove you chose this willingly, if you show any sign of coercion or distress beyond what's normal for a new bond, they'll kill me to break it. That's insane. That's pack law. He cupped my face gently. So, when they question you, you tell them the truth. That you chose this. That I tried to talk you out of it. That you insisted. I will. And when they separate us, you breathe through the pain. You focus on the bond. On feeling me on the other end of it. I'll be there, Sloane. Even if you can't see me, I'll be there. Okay. I took a shaky breath. Okay. I can do this. I know you can. He kissed my forehead softly. You're stronger than you know. A howl echoed in the distance. Kieran's head snapped toward the window. They're here. Already? Marco's death triggers an alert. The council moves fast when an alpha kills a rogue. He pulled away reluctantly.
Get dressed.
Something formal. They'll expect you to present yourself properly. Present myself? You're an alpha's mate now, Sloane. That comes with responsibilities. Expectations. He hesitated. And politics. So much politics. I don't know anything about werewolf politics. You'll learn. He smiled faintly. I'll teach you. But first, we survive tonight. Chapter 5, The Council. 20 minutes later, I stood in our living room wearing the only dress I owned, a simple black sheath I'd bought for a hospital fundraiser. Kieran had showered quickly and dressed in dark slacks and a white button-down. He looked every inch the alpha. Controlled, powerful, untouchable. except for his eyes. They kept finding me across the room, glowing faintly, full of possessive warmth. The bond hummed between us like a living thing. "They're here," Kieran said quietly. I heard it a moment later.
Car doors slamming.
Footsteps on the stairs. A sharp knock on the door. Kieran opened it. 3 people stood in the hallway. The first was a tall woman with silver-streaked black hair and eyes that glowed pale gold. She wore an expensive suit and carried herself like royalty. The second was a massive man, easily 6'6", with shoulders like a linebacker and a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. His eyes were dark amber. The third was younger, maybe mid-20s, with sharp features and calculating green eyes that didn't glow at all.
Human.
Counselor Thorne. Kieran greeted the woman with a respectful nod. Enforcer Kane. Scribe Delacroix. Dr. Cross. Counselor Thorne replied, her voice smooth as silk. We received your formal notification. A rogue named Marco Vela is deceased. Yes, ma'am. Killed in lawful challenge approximately 30 minutes ago. 4 witnesses from the East Side Pack observed the fight. And the reason for the challenge? Kieran's jaw tightened. He attempted to force-spawn my mate. All 3 sets of eyes shifted to me. I fought the urge to step behind Kieran. Your mate, Counselor Thorne repeated, her gaze assessing. And when did this bond form? Tonight. After the fight. How convenient. The sarcasm in her tone made my hackles rise. It wasn't planned, Kieran said evenly. Marco wounded her with a silver blade. I gave her my blood to neutralize the poison. The bond began forming before either of us realized what was happening. And you completed it? Yes. By biting her? Yes. Counselor Thorne stepped into the apartment, her heels clicking on the hardwood. The 2 men followed. Miss. She paused expectantly. Walker, I supplied. Sloane Walker. Miss Walker. Do you understand what has happened to you tonight? Yes, ma'am. I've been marked as Kieran's mate. And do you understand what that means? I glanced at Kieran. He gave the smallest nod. It means I'm bound to him, connected by a bond that can't be broken without killing one or both of us. Correct. And do you consent to this bond? Yes. Did Dr. Cross coerce you in any way? Threaten you? Use his alpha authority to compel your agreement?
No.
He tried to talk me out of it. Counselor Thorne's eyebrows rose. He did. Multiple times. He said the bond was a prison. That I'd regret it. That I should run as far away from him as possible. I met her gaze steadily. I chose to stay. I chose to complete the bond. It was my decision. Silence fell. The big man, Enforcer Kane, spoke for the first time. His voice was a deep rumble. You realize you're claiming responsibility for a mating bond with a rogue alpha? Kieran isn't a rogue. He left his pack. Refused his assigned mate. Went AWOL from council oversight. Kane's expression was hard. By definition, that makes him rogue. He left because you ordered him to execute his own beta without trial. I shot back, anger flaring. That doesn't make him rogue. It makes him decent. Kieran made a soft sound of warning. Sloane.
No.
I stepped forward, ignoring the way Counselor Thorne's eyes narrowed. You want to know if I consented? If I chose this?
Fine.
I chose it. I chose him. Because he's a good man who saves lives and protects people and refuses to compromise his morals even when it costs him everything. So yes, I consent. Fully.
Completely.
Without reservation. Dead silence. Then Counselor Thorne smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Well, she said softly, you certainly have spirit. Let's see if you have endurance to match. She gestured to Kane. Take her. What? I backed up instinctively. Take me where? To the testing room. Standard protocol for new bonds. You'll be separated from Dr. Cross for 2 hours. If the bond holds without causing you undue distress, we'll recognize it as legitimate. And if it doesn't hold, then we'll assume it was forced. And Dr. Cross will be executed for violating pack law. Kieran moved in front of me instantly. She stays. You don't have a choice, Doctor. Counselor Thorne's voice was steel. This is council law. She undergoes the test, or the bond is declared invalid, and you face execution anyway. She's been through enough tonight. Which is why we're doing this now, while the bond is fresh, before it is time to deepen and distort her judgment. She looked past Kieran to me. Miss Walker, do you agree to undergo testing? I could feel Kieran's desperation through the bond, his fear for me, his helpless rage at the situation. I touched his arm. It's okay. Sloan, I can do this. I squeezed his hand. 2 hours. That's nothing. I'll be fine. He turned to face me, his eyes blazing. If it's too much, if the pain is too intense, you tell them. You don't have to suffer to prove anything. I won't break. You might. The bond is new, fragile, being separated this early. I won't break. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly, I could barely breathe. I'll be right here, he whispered into my hair. The whole time. I won't leave the apartment. You feel that bond, Sloan. You hold on to it like a lifeline. I'll be on the other end. I know. He kissed me. Hard. Desperate. Then he let me go. Kane stepped forward and gestured toward the door. This way, Miss Walker. I followed him out, spine straight, head high. I didn't look back, but I felt Kieran's presence in the bond the entire way down the stairs. Felt his love, his pride, his absolute certainty that I would survive this. And I would. Because I'd made a promise. Forever. And I meant it. The testing room was in the basement of a building 3 blocks away. No windows. No furniture except a single chair. Just concrete walls and a heavy steel door. Kane pointed to the chair. Sit. I sat. 2 hours, he said. Starting now. And he left. The door slammed shut with a finality that made my chest constrict. For the first minute, I was fine. The bond hummed between us, warm and steady. I could feel Kieran on the other end. His presence. His strength. Then the pain started. Comment below and tell me, how long do you think Sloan will last before she breaks? 1 hour? 30 minutes? Will she make it the full 2 hours? Because what happens in that room changes everything. And I'm about to tell you exactly how. The pain started small. A tightness in my chest. A dull ache behind my eyes. I breathed through it, focusing on the bond. Kieran was there. I could feel him. Pacing. Angry. Helpless. But there. 5 minutes passed. The ache spread to my limbs. My hands started shaking. 10 minutes. My skin felt too tight, like I was being squeezed from the inside out. 15 minutes. I stood up, needing to move. Paced the small room. The walls felt like they were closing in. 20 minutes. The pain was no longer dull. It was sharp, insistent, like something vital was being slowly torn away. I pressed my hand to my chest, gasping. Kieran. I reached for the bond desperately, and felt him reach back. Warmth flooded through me. Not enough to stop the pain, but enough to make it bearable. I'm here, his presence seemed to whisper. Hold on. I held on. 30 minutes. 40. 50. The pain was excruciating now. Every breath hurt. Every heartbeat felt like it was tearing me apart. But I didn't break. I thought about Kieran's face when he'd marked me. The reverence. The love. I thought about his voice. Forever. I thought about the way he'd fought for me. Killed for me. 1 hour. The door opened. Counselor Thorne stepped inside, her expression unreadable. Impressive, she said. Most unmated humans don't last 20 minutes. I'm not unmated. I managed through gritted teeth. No, you're not. She studied me thoughtfully. 1 more hour, Miss Walker. Can you endure it? Yes. You're shaking. I said yes. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Very well. She left. The door closed. And I went back to holding on to that golden thread connecting me to Kieran. 1 hour and 15 minutes. My vision was blurring. I couldn't tell if I was sitting or standing anymore. The pain had transcended physical. It felt like my soul was being carved out of my body.
Kieran.
His presence flared in response, stronger this time, and I heard his voice, not out loud, in my head, through the bond. You're doing so well, sweetheart. So strong. I'm so proud of you. Tears streamed down my face. It hurts. I know, baby.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize. I sent the thought back fiercely. This was my choice. I don't deserve you. Too bad.
You're stuck with me.
I felt his laugh through the bond.
Warm.
Affectionate. Forever, Sloane. Forever. 1 hour and 30 minutes. 1 hour and 45 minutes. I was on the floor now, curled into a ball, focusing on nothing but the bond. Just when I thought I couldn't take another second, the door opened. Counselor Thorne stood there, flanked by Kane and the scribe. Time, she announced. I tried to stand and couldn't. My legs wouldn't cooperate. Kane stepped forward and lifted me easily, carrying me out of the room. We went back to the apartment. Kieran was standing in the middle of the living room, looking like he'd aged 10 years. The moment he saw me, he crossed the space in 2 strides and took me from Kane's arms. The second we touched, the pain vanished. Just gone. I sagged against him, sobbing with relief. I've got you, he murmured into my hair. I've got you. It's over. You did it. Counselor Thorne cleared her throat. The bond is legitimate. Miss Walker endured the full 2 hours without breaking. Dr. Cross, your mate bond is officially recognized by the council. Kieran didn't even look at her. He just held me tighter. However, Thorne continued, there is the matter of your rogue status. I'm not rogue, Kieran said flatly. I left my pack. I didn't leave the council. You refused a direct order. I refused an execution order for a packmate who deserved a trial. That packmate killed 7 humans. And I hunted him down and killed him tonight. Justice was served. Just not on your timeline. Silence stretched. Finally, Thorne sighed. The council will review your case. In the meantime, your mate bond grants you provisional pack status. You're no longer considered rogue. Generous of you. Don't push it, doctor. But there was a hint of amusement in her tone. Take care of your mate. She's earned her place. They left. The apartment was silent, except for my ragged breathing. Kieran carried me to his bed, *** bed now, and laid me down gently. Never again, he said fiercely. I will never let them hurt you like that again. It wasn't their fault. It's just how bonds work. I don't care. If they ever try to separate us again, I pulled him down and kissed him, silencing the threat. When I pulled back, I smiled. We did it. You did it.
No.
We did it. Together. I touched the mark on my throat. Forever, remember? His expression softened. Forever. He climbed into bed beside me, pulling me into his arms. And for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt safe. Completely. Utterly. Safe. 3 months later, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the feeling of Kieran's arm draped over my waist. The morning sun streamed through the window, the one he'd replaced after Marco's attack. Everything was different now. The apartment was still small, still cheap, but it felt like home. Our home. I rolled over to find Kieran already awake, watching me with those impossibly intense gray eyes. Good morning, I murmured.
Good morning, mate.
The word still sent a thrill through me. What time is it? 6. I have surgery at 8. Then why are you awake at 6? He smiled. Because I like watching you sleep. That's creepy. That's romantic. I laughed and kissed him. He pulled me closer, deepening the kiss until I was breathless. When we finally broke apart, I noticed something on the nightstand. A small velvet box. Kieran, open it. I sat up and reached for the box with trembling hands. Inside was a ring. Simple. Elegant. A single diamond set in platinum. We're already mated, Kieran said softly. But I want to marry you too. Human way. Legal way. every way possible. He took the ring from the box and held it up. Sloane Walker, will you marry me?
Tears spilled down my cheeks.
Yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger, then kissed me again. I love you, he whispered against my lips. I love you too. The bond hummed between us, warm and golden and perfect. Forever. And that's where Sloane's story ends. Or maybe where it begins. Because she's not just a medical transcriptionist anymore. She's an alpha's mate. Which means pack politics. Rival alphas. And a whole world of supernatural danger she never knew existed. But she's not facing it alone. She has Kieran. And together, they're unstoppable. If you love this story, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Because next week, I'm bringing you something even more intense. The alpha's secret baby. He doesn't know he's a father.
Trust me.
You're not ready. Drop a comment below and tell me. 1. Should Sloane and Kieran have a baby? 2. What kind of wedding should they have? Pack ceremony or human wedding?
3.
Do you think Marco had a pack that will come for revenge? The most creative answer gets a shout out in my next video. Like this video if you're Team Kieran, and share it with someone who loves possessive alphas and fated mates. This is Gracie Werewolf Story Bank, reminding you that the best love stories are the ones that bite back. I'll see you in the next hunt.